The hotel hallway stretched before Naomi like a tunnel, her heels clicking against polished marble as she clutched the anniversary gift bag against her chest. Room 847. She had memorized the number from Derek's itinerary, imagining his surprised face when she knocked on the door. 7 years of marriage deserved celebration, even if it meant flying across 3 states to crash his business conference. The elevator had been full of conventioneers wearing name badges and discussing presentations. Naomi had smiled, thinking about how proud she was of Derek for landing this speaking opportunity. She'd stayed behind to handle things at home as usual, but today was special. Today she would remind him what really mattered. But now, standing 10 feet from his door, Naomi froze. Laughter spilled into the hallway. A woman's laughter, high and carefree. Then came sounds that made Naomi's stomach twist. Rhythmic thumping against a wall. Low moans. A female voice calling out in pleasure, followed by Derek's unmistakable groan. The anniversary gift bag slipped from Naomi's fingers, landing on the carpet with a soft thud. She couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The sounds continued, growing louder, more intense. Every moan felt like a knife sliding between her ribs. 7 years. 7 years of putting his career first. 7 years of supporting his dreams while putting her own on hold. 7 years of believing in their partnership, their future, their love. And he was in there with another woman. Naomi's hand moved to her phone, operating on instinct rather than thought. She opened the recording app and held the device near the door. The sounds were clear, damning. Derek's voice, breathless and eager. The woman giggling and saying something about, "Your wife never needs to know." The recording lasted 3 minutes before silence fell. Naomi's hands shook as she saved the file. She needed to move, to think, to do something other than stand frozen in this hallway like a statue. Her feet carried her back to the elevator. She descended to the lobby, her mind buzzing with white noise. The front desk clerk, a young man named Timothy according to his name tag, looked up with a professional smile. "How can I help you?" Naomi forced her voice to work. "I need a room, please. For tonight." "Certainly. Let me check availability." His fingers flew across the keyboard. "We have several options. What floor would you prefer?" "8th floor," Naomi heard herself say. "Facing the interior courtyard if possible." Timothy's smile widened. "Perfect. I have room 852, which is actually across from another guest I checked in earlier this week. Regular customer. Mr. Collins, I believe." Naomi's ears perked up at the name. Derek Collins. Her husband. "Mr. Collins? Does he stay here often?" Timothy shouldn't have answered, but Naomi's distressed expression must have triggered his sympathy. "Oh yes, every month for the past 2 years. Always requests the same room. Very particular about it." 2 years. The words echoed in Naomi's head as she took the room key. 2 years of monthly business trips. 2 years of lies. She believed every excuse, every explanation about important clients and networking opportunities. Room 852 was directly across from 847. Naomi could see Derek's door from her peephole. She set her purse on the bed and sat in darkness, watching that door like it held all the answers to questions she hadn't known to ask. An hour later, the door opened. Derek emerged first, looking exactly as he did after their intimate moments together. That same satisfied smile, that relaxed posture. Behind him came a woman Naomi didn't recognize. Tall, slim with long dark hair and expensive clothes. She reached up to adjust Derek's collar, an intimate gesture that suggested familiarity and comfort. Naomi pulled out her phone and took pictures. The woman kissed Derek's cheek. He squeezed her hand. They walked toward the elevator together, laughing about something. After they disappeared, Naomi remained in her room, staring at the evidence on her phone. The pictures. The recording. The lies crystallizing into undeniable truth. She should have felt something. Rage maybe. Heartbreak. Devastation. But instead she felt cold. Calculating. Clear-headed in a way that surprised her. Naomi opened her laptop and began researching divorce attorneys. She created a new email account Derek didn't know about. She transferred the photos and recordings to cloud storage with encrypted passwords. Then she called the front desk again. "Timothy, this is the guest from 852. I was wondering if you could help me with something." "Of course, ma'am. What do you need?" "I'm working on an anniversary surprise for my husband, and I wanted to see if I could get a history of his stays here." "You mentioned he's a regular customer?" Timothy hesitated. "Well, I shouldn't really access guest records without permission." "I understand. It's just that I want to plan something special, and knowing his preferences would help. Maybe which room he prefers." Or if he usually stays alone. The pause stretched. Then Timothy's voice returned, quieter. Let me see what I can do. Naomi waited, her heart pounding. This was wrong, she knew. But everything was wrong now. The life she'd believed in was built on lies. What was one more deception in the name of truth? Okay, Timothy said finally. Mr. Collins has stayed here 23 times in the past 2 years. Always room 847. And according to our records, he always books it under his business account, but the room shows double occupancy. Double occupancy? Yes, ma'am. Checkout records indicate 2 key cards are typically used throughout the stay. 23 times. 23 trips. 23 lies about working late, attending conferences, meeting with clients. 23 times he'd chosen someone else over their marriage. Thank you, Timothy, Naomi said softly. You've been very helpful. She ended the call and returned to her vigil at the peephole. Derek and the woman returned 2 hours later, carrying shopping bags and laughing. They disappeared into room 847 again, and Naomi watched the door close on another round of betrayal. But she didn't cry. She didn't scream or pound on the door demanding answers. Instead, she opened her laptop and began making lists. Things she needed to do. People she needed to contact. Evidence she needed to gather. The old Naomi, the one who had walked down this hallway an hour ago expecting romance and celebration, was gone. In her place stood someone new. Someone who understood that the best response to betrayal wasn't revenge in the traditional sense. It was preparation. As night fell over the hotel, Naomi sat in darkness across from her husband's room, making plans. The sounds that had shocked her in the hallway had transformed into something else now. Not heartbreak but fuel. Motivation. The catalyst for change. Derek thought she was at home, oblivious and trusting. He had no idea she was 10 feet away, documenting everything. Building a case. Preparing for war. Tomorrow she would fly home and act normal. She would smile and ask about his trip. She would pretend everything was fine while she gathered more evidence, consulted lawyers, and built an escape plan. Because Naomi had learned something important in that hallway. Love wasn't enough. Trust wasn't guaranteed. And sometimes the person you thought you knew best was actually a complete stranger. But she wasn't helpless. She wasn't trapped. She was angry and hurt and betrayed, but she was also smart and capable and done being taken for granted. Derek Collins had made a terrible mistake. He'd underestimated his wife. And that mistake was going to cost him everything. Naomi woke at dawn in her hotel room, her body stiff from sleeping in her clothes. Across the hall, Derek's door remained closed. She checked her phone and found 3 text messages from him, all sent the previous evening. Conference is going well. Miss you. Long day tomorrow. Might not be able to talk much. Love you. Each message felt like acid on her tongue as she read them. The casual lies delivered with such practiced ease. How many times had he sent similar texts while the other woman was right there beside him? Naomi didn't respond. Instead, she showered and changed into the spare clothes she'd packed for the surprise visit. She applied makeup carefully, transforming her puffy eyes and exhausted expression into something presentable. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a stranger. Someone harder. More focused. At 8 o'clock, Derek's door opened. He emerged alone, dressed in a business suit, carrying his conference materials. Naomi waited 5 minutes, then followed him downstairs to the conference center attached to the hotel. The lobby buzzed with attendees grabbing coffee and networking. Derek stood with a group of colleagues, laughing at someone's joke. He looked happy, relaxed, completely at ease with his double life. Naomi found a seat in the back of the main conference room where Derek would be presenting later that morning. She pulled out her laptop and pretended to work while watching him schmooze and charm everyone around him. He was good at this, she realized. The performance. The facade. He'd probably been good at it for years. At 10 o'clock, Derek took the stage to give his presentation about market trends and business strategy. Naomi listened with detached interest. He was articulate and confident, the kind of speaker who commanded attention. People around her took notes and nodded along. She wondered how many of them knew about his affair. If any of his colleagues suspected. Or if everyone was as blind as she'd been. After the presentation, Naomi slipped out of the conference room and returned to the hotel. She positioned herself in the lobby cafe with a clear view of the elevators, her laptop open to spreadsheets she wasn't actually reading. At noon, the other woman appeared. She wore a professional pencil skirt and blazer, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. Up close, Naomi could see she was younger than expected. Late 20s, maybe 30. Pretty in a polished, corporate way. The woman headed straight for the elevators, checking her phone as she walked. Naomi stood and followed at a distance, catching the same elevator car. They rode in silence to the 8th floor. As expected, the woman went to room 847, using her key card to enter. Naomi returned to her room and continued her surveillance through the peephole, taking more photos, documenting everything. 30 minutes later, Derek returned. He knocked on 847, and the woman answered wearing significantly less clothing than before. They embraced in the doorway, kissing deeply before disappearing inside together. Naomi photographed the entire exchange. Then she sat on her bed and began reverse image searching photos of the woman she'd taken. It took 20 minutes of searching through corporate websites and LinkedIn profiles before she found a match. Simone Patterson, marketing director at Collins Financial Group, Derek's company. Naomi's heart sank further. Not only was Derek having an affair, but he'd done it with a subordinate. Someone he worked with every day. Someone Naomi had probably met at company events. She searched Simone's social media profiles next. Facebook showed a woman who posted frequently about her career achievements and travel adventures. In several photos, Naomi spotted Derek in the background. Company picnics, office parties, business dinners. But there was something else. Photos of Simone with a man who appeared frequently in her posts. Her husband, according to the tags, Jackson Patterson. They'd been married for 5 years and had 2 young children. So Simone was married too. 2 families being destroyed by this affair, with 4 people completely oblivious to the destruction happening behind their backs. Naomi saved all the information to her encrypted files. Then she opened her banking app and examined their joint accounts more closely. Derek handled most of their finances, claiming it was easier since he worked in the financial industry. Naomi had trusted him, checking the accounts only occasionally to verify her automatic deposits were processed. Now she looked at every transaction from the past year. Restaurant charges she didn't recognize. Hotel stays beyond the business trips he told her about. Cash withdrawals in amounts that didn't match their normal spending patterns. She compared these transactions to the dates Timothy had given her for Derek's hotel stays. The patterns matched perfectly. Every time Derek visited this hotel, their joint account showed unusual spending. But there was something else. Large transfers to an account Naomi didn't recognize. Thousands of dollars, moved systematically over the past year. She couldn't access the receiving account, but she could see the money leaving theirs. Derek was hiding money. Naomi pulled up their credit card statements next. More irregularities. Jewelry purchases she'd never received. Expensive gifts charged to their card but never mentioned. Weekend getaways to places they'd never visited together. She created a spreadsheet, documenting every suspicious transaction. By late afternoon, she'd identified over $30,000 in unexplained spending, plus another $50,000 transferred to the unknown account. As the sun set, Naomi realized she'd spent an entire day investigating her own husband like a detective on a case. She'd gathered more evidence than she'd thought possible. Photos, recordings, financial records, witness accounts from the hotel clerk. Derek had no idea what was coming. That evening, Derek and Simone left the hotel again for dinner. Naomi followed them to an upscale restaurant 3 blocks away. She watched through the window as they shared wine and dessert, holding hands across the table like young lovers. She took more photos. Then she called the front desk. "Timothy, this is Naomi from room 852. I have a strange question." "Sure, what's up?" "That credit card on file for my room? Can you tell me if it's been used for any other charges at the hotel? My husband handles our finances and I'm trying to track some expenses." "Let me check." Keys clicked. "No, just your room charge. But if you're asking about Mr. Collins's account, that one has multiple charges. Room service, spa services, gift shop purchases. All charged to the company card on file." Company card. Derek was using business funds for his affair. "Thank you, Timothy. That's exactly what I needed to know." Naomi spent her 3rd night in the hotel room across from her husband's betrayal, but this time she felt different. Empowered. Armed with information and evidence. She transformed from shocked victim to strategic planner in less than 72 hours. When Derek and Simone returned from dinner, stumbling and giggling, Naomi was ready. She photographed them. Recorded their conversation in the hallway about how Derek's boring wife would never suspect anything. Documented Simone saying she couldn't wait until Derek finally left Naomi so they could be together properly. The words hurt, but they also clarified everything. This wasn't a mistake or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a calculated, ongoing affair between two people who showed no remorse for the lives they were destroying. At midnight, Naomi finally allowed herself to feel. She sat in the darkness of her hotel room and let the tears come. She cried for the marriage she'd believed in, for the trust that was shattered, for the future she'd planned that would never happen. But when the tears stopped, something hard and resolute settled in her chest. Derek thought she was weak, dependent, someone who could be fooled and manipulated indefinitely. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Naomi opened her laptop and drafted an email to a divorce attorney she'd researched. She attached all her evidence and requested a consultation for the following week. Then she booked a flight home for the morning, changed her social media passwords, and transferred $10,000 from their joint account into a new individual account she'd opened online. It was time to stop observing and start acting. The investigation phase was over. Now came the planning phase. And Naomi had always been excellent at planning. The flight home felt endless. Naomi stared out the airplane window at clouds, her mind replaying the past 3 days on repeat. Every image of Derek with Simone was burned into her memory. Every lie he'd told. Every moment she'd been blind to the truth. But she couldn't fall apart. Not yet. She needed to stay focused. When the plane landed, Naomi turned off airplane mode and immediately received a text from Derek. Conference wrapped up early. Heading home tomorrow instead of tonight. Love you. More lies. Naomi checked social media and found a post from Simone showing a sunset view from what looked like the hotel rooftop bar. The caption read, "Ending this trip on a high note." They were spending one more night together, believing they'd gotten away with it again. Naomi texted back, "Sounds good. See you tomorrow. Safe travels." She forced herself to add a heart emoji. Everything had to appear normal until she was ready. At home, Naomi walked through rooms that suddenly felt foreign. Wedding photos mocked her from the walls. Derek's belongings scattered throughout the house felt like invasions rather than shared space. Even their bed looked different now that she knew what he'd been doing in another one. She couldn't sleep there tonight. Instead, she made up the guest room and lay awake, staring at the ceiling, making mental lists. The next morning, Naomi's phone rang at 9. The divorce attorney, Judith Harrison, returning her late-night email. "Mrs. Collins, I received your message and reviewed your evidence. I'd like to meet with you as soon as possible. Are you available today?" "Yes. Absolutely." "Good. Come to my office at 2. "And Mrs. Collins? Don't tell anyone about this meeting. Not friends, not family. Especially not your husband." Judith Harrison's office occupied the corner suite of a downtown building. The attorney herself was in her 50s, with steel gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. She gestured for Naomi to sit and immediately pulled up the evidence files on her computer. "This is extensive documentation," Judith said after 20 minutes of review. "The recordings, photos, financial records, witness statements from the hotel clerk. You've built a strong case. What happens now?" Naomi asked. "Now we build an even stronger case. From what I'm seeing, your husband has moved significant assets into hidden accounts. He's also used company funds for personal expenses, which could constitute embezzlement. We need to document everything before filing for divorce." "How long will that take?" "A few weeks, maybe a month. I know it seems like a long time to wait, but trust me. If we file now, Derek will immediately start hiding more assets. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with first." Judith connected Naomi with a forensic accountant named Ronald Briggs. He reviewed their financial records and confirmed Naomi's suspicions. Derek had been systematically moving money out of their joint accounts and into private accounts in his name only. "He's hidden about $80,000 so far," Ronald explained. "Based on these patterns, he's been doing this for at least 18 months. Possibly longer." "Can we get it back?" Naomi asked. "Absolutely. In a divorce, all marital assets are subject to division regardless of whose name they're under. But we need to trace every dollar before filing. Otherwise he might move or hide more." Naomi left the meeting feeling overwhelmed but determined. She had a team now. People who knew what they were doing. People who believed her and wanted to help. That evening, Derek came home with flowers and takeout from Naomi's favorite restaurant. "I missed you," he said, kissing her cheek. "How was your week?" "Quiet," Naomi lied. "Same old routine." They ate dinner and watched television like a normal couple. Derek held her hand during the show. Told her about the conference, leaving out every detail that involved Simone. He was convincing, Naomi realized. If she didn't know better, she'd believe every word. "I have another trip next month," Derek mentioned casually. Same client, different city? Okay, Naomi said. Just let me know the dates. Inside she was screaming. But outside she smiled and nodded and played the role of trusting wife. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi fell into a strange double life. During the day while Derek was at work, she met with Judith and Ronald. They traced financial records, discovered more hidden accounts, and built a comprehensive picture of Derek's deceptions. At night she came home and acted normal. She cooked meals, asked about his day, and even initiated intimate moments when Derek seemed to expect them. Each interaction felt like a performance, but she did it because Judith had been clear. Any sign that Naomi suspected something would cause Derek to destroy evidence and hide more assets. But the deception was exhausting. Naomi found herself losing weight, sleeping poorly, and constantly on edge. The stress of maintaining the facade while knowing the truth was crushing her. Then came an unexpected text message. It was from her former mentor, Dr. Patricia Winters, the CEO of a pharmaceutical company where Naomi had worked before marrying Derek. Naomi had quit that job 7 years ago when Derek got promoted and needed someone to manage their home life. Patricia had been disappointed but understood. Naomi, long time. Are you free for coffee? I'd love to catch up. Naomi almost declined. But something made her say yes. They met at a cafe downtown the following week. Patricia looked exactly the same, confident, professional, warm. She asked about Naomi's life, and for the first time since discovering Derek's affair, Naomi felt the urge to tell the truth. Actually, things aren't great, Naomi admitted. My marriage is ending. I just haven't told my husband yet. Patricia's expression shifted to concern. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I will be. I'm working with a lawyer. Just trying to figure out what comes next. What about your career? Are you working now? Naomi shook her head. I've been focused on supporting Derek's career. I do some volunteer work, but nothing serious. Patricia leaned forward. Naomi, do you remember that research director position I tried to recruit you for years ago? Yes, but that was. I still need someone for that role. Actually, I need someone for a position even better than that. We're expanding our research division and I'm looking for someone to lead it. The job is remote initially with occasional travel, and the salary is substantial. Naomi's heart raced. Patricia, I haven't worked in that field in years. But you were brilliant at it. You have a master's degree in pharmaceutical research that you're not using, and I've kept track of your publications. You've stayed current with the industry, even if you weren't officially employed. I don't know. Think about it. I'm serious. This could be a fresh start for you. You'd be financially independent, intellectually challenged, and doing work that matters. Plus, you'd report directly to me, which means you'd have support during this difficult transition. Naomi left that meeting with a job offer packet and a completely different perspective. For 7 years she'd believed her career was over, that she'd sacrificed it permanently for Derek's success. But here was Patricia, offering her a chance to reclaim that part of herself. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. She read through the job offer documents. The salary was more than Derek currently made. The benefits were excellent. The work itself was exactly what she'd loved doing before marriage had derailed her ambitions. She thought about Derek, sleeping peacefully beside her, completely unaware that his wife was planning to leave. Completely unaware that she was building a new life without him. By morning, Naomi had made her decision. She emailed Patricia, I accept the position. When do I start? The response came within an hour, next Monday. Welcome back, Naomi. I'm so glad you're joining us. Naomi walked into Judith's office that afternoon with new energy. I got a job, she announced. A really good job. One that will make me financially independent from Derek. Judith smiled. Perfect timing. We're almost ready to file. I'd say we have another 2 weeks of preparation, and then we'll be ready to serve him with papers. 2 more weeks of pretending, Naomi said. 2 more weeks of preparation, Judith corrected. You're not pretending. You're planning. And when this is over, you'll have everything you need to start fresh. Naomi left the meeting feeling something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Derek thought he held all the power. He thought she was dependent on him, trapped by their shared finances and her lack of career. He'd underestimated her completely. And that underestimation was going to be his biggest mistake. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable coldness. Naomi stood in front of her closet, selecting professional clothes she hadn't worn in years. The suit jacket felt strange on her shoulders, like putting on a costume from another life. But it also felt right. Going somewhere? Derek asked from the bed, checking his phone. Just meeting some friends for lunch, Naomi lied smoothly. I thought I'd dress up for once. That's nice. You should get out more. He didn't look up from his screen as he said it. Naomi bit back a sharp response. Instead, she smiled and grabbed her purse. Have a good day at work. Patricia's office was in a modern building across town. The research facility took up 3 floors, and Naomi's new office occupied a corner space with windows overlooking the city. Her desk held a new computer, research journals, and a nameplate that read, Dr. Naomi Collins, Director of Research Development. Welcome to your new kingdom, Patricia said, appearing in the doorway. Ready for your first day? The work was challenging but exhilarating. Naomi spent the morning being introduced to her team, reviewing current research projects, and familiarizing herself with the company's goals and objectives. By lunch, her brain felt alive in ways it hadn't in years. She met with laboratory directors, discussed clinical trial protocols, and offered insights on research methodologies. Her team members were impressed with her knowledge and asked intelligent questions. For the first time since finding Derek with Simone, Naomi felt like herself again. By the time she left at 5, she'd accomplished more than she'd expected. Patricia caught her at the elevator. You did great today, Patricia said. I knew bringing you back was the right choice. How are you holding up with everything else? I'm managing, Naomi admitted. It's hard living a double life, but it won't be much longer. If you need anything, I'm here. And Naomi? You're stronger than you realize. At home, Naomi changed back into casual clothes before Derek arrived. She had dinner prepared, the house was clean, and she looked exactly like she had every other day. Nothing to suggest she'd just completed her first day at a job he didn't know about. Derek came home at 7 looking tired. Long day, he muttered, heading for the shower. Naomi checked his location on the tracking app she'd installed on his phone during one of his sleeping marathons. The tracking showed he'd left the office at 5:30 and spent 90 minutes at an address she recognized as Simone's apartment building. So he wasn't working late. He was seeing her. Even on regular workdays now, not just during his fake business trips. After Derek showered and joined her for dinner, Naomi watched him eat and talk about his day as if nothing was wrong. He mentioned meetings and client calls, office politics and upcoming projects. Every word felt hollow. How was your day? He asked eventually. Fine. Had lunch with friends, did some reading, normal stuff. Good. You should enjoy yourself more. You're always cooped up here. The irony wasn't lost on Naomi. Derek wanted her cooped up and dependent. It made his double life easier. A stay-at-home wife who didn't work meant someone who wouldn't notice irregular hours or suspicious behavior. Someone who wouldn't have the financial means to leave easily. But that equation had changed and Derek had no idea. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi perfected her double life. She'd wake early, dress professionally, and tell Derek she was meeting friends or running errands. Then she'd go to work, where she thrived in her new role. Her team respected her. Projects moved forward under her guidance. Patricia praised her contributions regularly. At the office, Naomi was Dr. Collins, the brilliant researcher who'd returned to save their research division. At home, she was Naomi the wife, cooking dinner and asking about Derek's day. The deception was exhausting but necessary. And with each passing day, Ronald the forensic accountant uncovered more of Derek's financial lies. He's got 4 separate accounts we've identified so far, Ronald explained during one of their secret meetings. Total hidden assets are around $120,000. He's also been using the company credit card for personal expenses totaling about $55,000 over 2 years. Can the company press charges? Naomi asked. If they wanted to. That's embezzlement. But it's up to them whether to pursue it legally. Judith added, we'll include all of this in the divorce filing. Derek will have to account for every dollar. And the company card misuse gives us additional leverage. Naomi's phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Working late tonight. Client emergency. Don't wait up. She checked the tracking app. He was at Simone's apartment again. He's with her right now, Naomi told Judith and Ronald. Says he's working late. Judith made a note. Good. We'll need those location records for the divorce proceedings. Every lie helps our case. That evening, Naomi sat alone in her home and opened Derek's laptop. She knew his passwords, he'd never bothered to hide them from her. Within minutes, she was reading his emails. The correspondence between Derek and Simone was extensive. Hundreds of emails over 2 years, many explicit and romantic. They discussed their future together, with Derek promising repeatedly that he'd leave Naomi soon. But there was something else in the emails. plans for a trip to Europe they were taking next month. Derek had told Naomi he was attending a conference in Chicago. Instead, he and Simone were planning 2 weeks in Paris and Rome, charged entirely to the company card. Naomi forwarded all the emails to her encrypted account. Then she found something that made her blood run cold. A file labeled Prenuptial Agreement Draft. She opened it. Derek had consulted an attorney about creating a postnuptial agreement that would protect his assets in case of divorce. The document was designed to leave Naomi with almost nothing if they split up. He'd been planning this. Planning to trap her legally while continuing his affair. Planning to have both his marriage and his mistress, with a safety net in place to protect himself if anything went wrong. The document was dated 6 months ago, but apparently, Derek had never worked up the courage to ask Naomi to sign it. Probably because even he realized how suspicious it would look. Naomi printed the file and added it to her evidence folder. Then she searched Derek's browser history. Jewelry stores. Hotel bookings. Romantic restaurants. All the things he'd done with Simone but never with Naomi anymore. She found receipts for a diamond bracelet, weekend getaways and expensive gifts. Nothing she'd ever received. Her phone rang. It was Patricia. "Hey, I know it's late but I wanted to check in. How are you doing?" Naomi looked at Derek's laptop screen, filled with evidence of his betrayal. "I'm okay. Just gathering more evidence." "Are you almost ready to file?" "Soon. My lawyer says another week or 2. "Good. Because I've been thinking about your career trajectory here. Naomi, you're exceptional at this work. I want to promote you to Vice President of Research within 6 months if you continue performing at this level." The offer stunned Naomi into silence. "Vice President? You're doing the work of a VP already? Your insights have already improved 3 of our struggling projects. The team respects you. You deserve recognition and compensation that matches your contributions." After hanging up, Naomi sat in Derek's home office, surrounded by evidence of his lies, and felt something shift inside her. She'd spent weeks being angry, hurt, and betrayed. But now she felt something else entirely. She felt powerful. Derek thought he was so clever. Hiding money, planning escape routes, keeping her dependent and oblivious. But while he was busy lying and scheming, Naomi had built an entirely new life. A career that would soon surpass his. A support system that believed in her. Financial independence he didn't know about. She'd been so focused on his betrayal that she hadn't realized what she'd accomplished. In a few short weeks, she transformed from a dependent housewife into a successful professional with excellent prospects. Derek's phone rang from the bedroom. Naomi walked in and saw Simone's name on the screen. The call went to voicemail and moments later a text appeared, "Miss you already. Can't wait for Paris." Paris. The trip Derek thought was his secret reward for years of successful deception. Naomi smiled grimly. She knew exactly when that trip was scheduled. And she had plans of her own. When Derek finally came home at midnight, Naomi pretended to be asleep. He slipped into bed beside her, smelling of unfamiliar perfume, and immediately passed out. Naomi lay awake thinking about the next 2 weeks. The final evidence gathering. The preparation for what came next. The moment when Derek's carefully constructed lies would collapse around him. He had no idea what was coming. No idea that his wife had transformed from victim to strategist. No idea that every lie he told was being documented, every secret uncovered, every scheme exposed. And when it all came crashing down, Naomi would be ready. Not broken. Not desperate. But strong, employed, and completely prepared to leave him in the ruins of his own making. The best revenge, Naomi was learning, wasn't hurting the person who hurt you. It was building a life so good that their absence became irrelevant. And that life was already well underway. The tracking app showed Derek had been spending increasing amounts of time at Simone's apartment. Naomi had documented 17 visits in the past 3 weeks alone, each one marked by text to her about working late or meeting clients. The lies had become so routine that Derek barely bothered to make them creative anymore. Naomi sat in her office reviewing research proposals when her phone buzzed with another location update. Derek's dot pulsed on the map at Simone's building again. It was 2 in the afternoon on a Wednesday. She pulled up Simone's social media profiles, something she'd been monitoring regularly. Simone's latest Instagram post showed a professional headshot with the caption, "Excited for new opportunities on the horizon." New opportunities. Naomi wondered if that meant Derek had finally promised to leave his wife for real this time. But there was something else Naomi had been tracking. Simone's husband, Jackson Patterson. His social media presence was much more active than his wife's, filled with photos of his 2 children and posts about his work as a physical therapist. In every photo, Jackson looked happy, present, completely unaware that his wife was destroying their marriage. Naomi had been wrestling with a moral question for days. Should she tell Jackson? He deserved to know just as she deserved to know. But involving him felt risky and complicated. Then fate made the decision for her. Naomi was leaving her office building one evening when she nearly collided with someone carrying grocery bags. The bags fell and they both bent to pick them up. That evening, Naomi attended a work function with Patricia. It was a pharmaceutical industry networking event, and several of their competitors were present. During cocktail hour, Patricia introduced Naomi to various colleagues and executives. Dr. Collins is leading our research division, Patricia told a group of industry leaders. She's already revolutionized several of our protocols. One executive, a woman named Dr. Sharon Moore, was particularly interested in Naomi's work. They talked for nearly an hour about research methodologies and clinical trial designs. We're looking for someone with your expertise for a consultant position, Dr. Moore said eventually. Would you be interested in discussing it? Potentially, Naomi said. Though I'm very happy in my current role. Of course. But keep it in mind. The position is flexible and pays extremely well. Patricia pulled Naomi aside later. That was Dr. Moore from Prescott Pharmaceuticals. They're one of the biggest companies in the industry. If they're recruiting you after one conversation, you're making quite an impression. Naomi felt a surge of pride. A month ago, she'd been a housewife with no career prospects. Now she had multiple companies interested in her expertise. When she got home, Derek was already there, packing for his upcoming Chicago conference. When do you leave? Naomi asked. Friday morning. I'll be gone for 4 days. 4 days. But the tracking app and hotel confirmation Naomi had found showed Derek and Simone were actually taking a 10-day trip to Europe. Derek planned to tell Naomi about the extra 6 days after he left, claiming the conference was extended. That's a long time, Naomi said carefully. Will you be able to call? The conference schedule is pretty packed, but I'll try. More lies delivered so smoothly. Naomi wondered how she'd ever believe them. Thursday evening, Naomi's phone rang with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Naomi? This is Jackson Patterson. I hope it's okay that I called. I got your number from building security. Naomi's pulse quickened. Of course. Is everything okay? I'm not sure. Can we meet for coffee? I need to talk to someone and you seem trustworthy. They met at a cafe the next morning. Jackson looked tired, like he hadn't slept well. I think my wife is having an affair, he said without preamble. And I think the man she's with is named Derek Collins. Naomi's carefully neutral expression didn't change. What makes you think that? Jackson pulled out his phone and showed Naomi a series of photos. Simone and Derek at restaurants, entering hotels together. The same photos Naomi had taken herself, but from different angles. I've been following her, Jackson admitted. After our conversations, I started paying attention. The pieces didn't add up. So I hired a private investigator. I'm sorry, Naomi said quietly. That must be devastating. The investigator says they've been seeing each other for over 2 years. That most of Simone's business trips were actually trips with him. Jackson's hands shook as he held his coffee cup. We have 2 kids. How could she do this? Naomi took a deep breath. This was the moment of truth. Jackson, I need to tell you something. Derek Collins is my husband. Jackson's eyes widened. What? I've known about the affair for weeks. I've been gathering evidence for a divorce. I'm planning to serve Derek with papers today when he leaves for what he thinks is a secret trip with your wife. They sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then Jackson laughed bitterly. So we're both being played. Yes. But we don't have to be victims. What do you mean? Naomi pulled out her tablet and showed Jackson everything. Her evidence files. Her timeline. Her documentation of Derek's financial fraud and embezzlement. I've been planning this carefully, she explained. Making sure Derek can't hide anything or weasel out of consequences. And I think you should do the same. Jackson looked at the evidence, his expression hardening. You're right. I can't just fall apart. I have kids to protect. Exactly. So let's work together. Derek and Simone think they're so clever, sneaking around behind our backs. Let's show them what happens when they underestimate the people they've been lying to. By the time they left the cafe 2 hours later, Jackson and Naomi had a plan. They would both file for divorce simultaneously while Derek and Simone were in Paris. Papers would be served to both of them at the airport when they returned in front of each other, so neither could deny or hide the affair anymore. Jackson would also contact Derek's company about the misuse of company funds. The evidence Naomi had gathered would support an investigation into Derek's professional conduct. "Thank you," Jackson said as they parted ways. "For being honest with me. For not letting me stay in the dark. We deserve better," Naomi said simply. "Both of us." That evening, Derek kissed Naomi goodbye before heading to the airport. "I'll miss you," he said, holding her close. "I'll miss you too," Naomi replied, and for once, it wasn't entirely a lie. She'd missed the man she thought she married. But that man had never really existed. After Derek left, Naomi made one final call to Judith. "He's on his way to the airport. Start the process." "Consider it done," Judith said. "By the time Derek lands in Paris, the divorce papers will be filed and all joint accounts will be frozen. And Jackson is filing his papers too." "Yes. This is really happening." "It is. How are you feeling?" Naomi looked around her home, soon to be just her home. At the wedding photos she'd already removed from the walls. At the future she'd built for herself over the past month. "I feel ready," she said. Finally ready. Derek's flight to Paris departed at 6 in the morning. Naomi knew because she'd been tracking it on her phone, watching the little airplane icon move across the Atlantic. She imagined Derek and Simone sitting together in business class, probably holding hands, toasting champagne, celebrating their successful deception. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Naomi spent the morning at her office, trying to focus on work but constantly checking her phone. Judith had promised to text when the divorce papers were officially filed. Jackson was doing the same with his attorney. At 10 o'clock the text came, "Papers filed. Accounts frozen. Process servers will meet them at the airport when they return." Naomi texted back, "Thank you for everything. Thank you for being prepared. This is one of the cleanest divorce cases I've handled. You've done everything right." Patricia knocked on Naomi's office door around noon. "You seem distracted today. Everything okay?" "Actually, everything's perfect. I filed for divorce this morning." Patricia's eyes widened. "Oh my God. How are you feeling?" "Relieved, honestly. It's been building for so long that filing feels like finally exhaling." "Well, if you need time off." "No. I'd rather be here working. It keeps my mind occupied." They talked for a while about what came next. The divorce process, the property division, the emotional adjustment. Patricia shared her own divorce story from years ago, and her journey to building a successful career afterward. "You're doing this the right way," Patricia told her. "Getting your finances in order first, securing employment, building a support system. Some people leave marriages with nothing. You're leaving with power." That evening, Naomi met Jackson at a restaurant to finalize their coordinated plans. He'd also filed for divorce that morning and looked simultaneously relieved and devastated. "My kids are going to be so confused," he said quietly. "They love their mom. They don't understand why Daddy is sad all the time." "They'll understand eventually," Naomi said. "And you're protecting them by standing up for yourself. You're showing them that you deserve respect and honesty." "I called Derek's company today," Jackson said. "Spoke to someone in HR and corporate compliance. Told them I had evidence that one of their employees was misusing company funds for personal expenses. They seemed very interested." "What did you send them?" "Everything you gave me. The receipts, the hotel charges, the credit card statements. I also mentioned that the employee was having an affair with a subordinate, which apparently violates their ethics policy." Naomi hadn't considered that angle. Derek's been having an affair with someone who reports to him? Not directly, but they're in the same chain of command. According to the company handbook, any romantic relationship between employees in the same division must be disclosed to HR. Derek and Simone never disclosed anything. The corporate consequences were piling up faster than Naomi had anticipated. Derek wasn't just losing his marriage, he was potentially losing his career too. Over the next week, while Derek and Simone enjoyed Paris, Naomi's life transformed rapidly. The divorce filing became public record, and several of their mutual friends reached out with shocked messages. "I can't believe Derek would do that. Are you okay? If you need anything, let me know." Naomi appreciated the support but kept her responses brief. She didn't want to spend energy managing other people's reactions to her divorce. She had work to do. At the office, her research team completed a major project milestone ahead of schedule. Patricia called a meeting to announce that their division had secured a significant grant based on Naomi's proposal. "This is a career-defining achievement," Patricia told the team. Dr. Collins has brought innovation and excellence to our work, and this grant validates everything we've been doing. After the meeting, Patricia pulled Naomi aside. I'm accelerating your promotion timeline. You're officially our Vice President of Research Development as of today. But you said 6 months. You've earned it now. The grant alone justifies the promotion, not to mention everything else you've accomplished. Congratulations, Naomi. You deserve this. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. A month ago, she'd been a housewife with no prospects. Now she was a vice president at a major pharmaceutical company, earning more than Derek ever had. On day 8 of Derek's trip, Naomi received a panicked call from an unknown number. She answered cautiously. Naomi? It was Derek's mother. What's going on? Derek called me saying something about divorce papers? Hello, Margaret. Yes, I filed for divorce. But why? You two were so happy. We weren't happy, Margaret. Derek has been having an affair for 2 years. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, are you sure? I have recordings, photos, financial evidence, and witness statements. I'm very sure. Oh my God. I had no idea. Naomi, I'm so sorry. Thank you. I appreciate that. What can I do? How can I help? I don't need anything. But I appreciate you calling. Margaret started crying. He's my son, but what he did is wrong. You deserved better. I'm ashamed of him. The conversation left Naomi feeling oddly touched. She'd expected Derek's family to defend him or blame her. Instead, his mother was offering support. On day 9, Jackson called with an update. Derek's company has opened a formal investigation. They're auditing all his expense reports for the past 3 years. And apparently, there have been complaints about him and Simone from other employees that were never properly investigated. What kind of complaints? Favoritism. Simone getting special treatment, better projects, higher bonuses than colleagues with similar performance. The company is taking it seriously. Everything was falling into place exactly as planned. Derek and Simone were in Paris, completely oblivious to the hurricane forming back home. On day 10, their flight home landed at 8 in the evening. Naomi and Jackson had coordinated with their attorneys to have process servers waiting at baggage claim. They'd also both agreed to be there in person, wanting Derek and Simone to see them together, united in knowing the truth. Naomi stood near the international arrivals area, her heart pounding. Jackson stood beside her, his jaw clenched with tension. I'm nervous, Jackson admitted. Me too. But we're doing the right thing. At 8:45, passengers from the Paris flight began emerging. Naomi spotted Derek and Simone immediately. They walked side by side, laughing about something, pulling matching luggage. They looked tanned and relaxed, like people without a care in the world. Then Derek saw Naomi. His face went white. He stopped walking so abruptly that Simone stumbled into him. Simone followed his gaze and froze too when she saw Jackson standing beside Naomi. Derek Collins? A man in a suit approached with paperwork. You've been served. Simone Patterson? A woman approached Simone simultaneously. You've been served. Derek took the papers with shaking hands. Simone started crying immediately, mascara running down her cheeks. Naomi, what is this? Derek's voice cracked. What are you doing? Filing for divorce, Naomi said calmly. For adultery, financial fraud, and misuse of marital assets. You can't do this. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I have recordings of you with Simone in hotel rooms. Photos of you together over 2 years. Financial records of money you've hidden. And witness statements confirming your affair. Derek looked at Jackson desperately, as if another betrayed spouse might offer sympathy. Instead, Jackson said coldly, I'm divorcing Simone for the same reasons. You two deserve each other. Simone was sobbing now. Jackson, please let me explain. Don't, Jackson cut her off. Just don't. I'm taking the kids and filing for full custody based on your pattern of deception and poor judgment. You can fight it if you want, but I have the same evidence Naomi does. Airport security started approaching, drawn by the commotion. The process servers finished their job and left. Derek and Simone stood surrounded by luggage and legal papers, the remnants of their romantic vacation scattered around them. Naomi, please, Derek tried again. We can fix this. It was a mistake. I love you. No, you don't, Naomi said simply. And honestly, I don't love you either anymore. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just done. She turned and walked away, Jackson beside her. Behind them, Derek called her name repeatedly, but Naomi didn't look back. In the parking garage, Jackson and Naomi stood by their cars for a moment. "That was intense," Jackson said. "It was necessary. Thank you for including me. For making sure Simone couldn't hide from the truth. We're in this together. Both victims of the same lies." They hugged briefly, two people bonded by betrayal but choosing dignity over destruction. Driving home, Naomi felt lighter than she had in weeks. The confrontation was over. Derek knew she was serious. And now came the next phase, actually building her new life. Her phone buzzed with a text from Judith. "Heard it went perfectly. Derek tried calling my office 17 times in the past hour. I'm not answering." Naomi smiled and responded, "Good. Let him sweat." Another text came through, this time from Derek. "Please talk to me. We can work through this." Naomi blocked his number. Then came a text from Patricia. "Proud of you. See you Monday." And one from Ronald, the forensic accountant. "Divorce papers are filed. Derek's accounts are frozen. He can't hide anything now." Naomi pulled into her driveway and sat in her car for a moment, looking at the house she'd soon be selling. The home she'd shared with Derek for 7 years. The place where she'd been happy, before realizing it was all built on lies. But she wasn't sad. She was ready. Ready to move forward. Ready to embrace the life she'd been building in secret. Ready to be the person she'd forgotten she could be. Derek had underestimated her completely. He'd thought she was weak and dependent, someone who could be manipulated indefinitely. But he'd been wrong. And now he was going to spend a very long time dealing with the consequences of that mistake. Naomi woke the next morning to 73 missed calls from Derek. She turned off her phone after blocking his number, but he'd apparently tried calling from other numbers throughout the night. Each voicemail was more desperate than the last. "Naomi, please. We need to talk. This is crazy. You're overreacting." "Fine, I made a mistake, but you're throwing away our marriage over one mistake? You're being vindictive and cruel. I'll do anything to fix this. Please just talk to me." Naomi deleted all the messages without listening to most of them. There was nothing Derek could say that would change anything now. Her doorbell rang at 7 in the morning. Naomi looked through the peephole and saw Derek standing on her porch, looking disheveled and exhausted. She didn't open the door. "Naomi, I know you're in there. Open the door." She called Judith instead. "Derek is at my house demanding to talk. Do not engage with him. If he doesn't leave, call the police. We have a restraining order ready to file if necessary." Naomi texted Derek from her blocked number, "Leave my property or I'm calling the police. All communication goes through my attorney." Derek pounded on the door a few more times, then finally left. Naomi watched through the window as he sat in his car for 20 minutes, staring at the house before driving away. Her phone rang with a call from Margaret, Derek's mother. "Naomi, I just talked to Derek. He's devastated. He should be devastated. He destroyed our marriage." "I know, honey. I'm not defending him. I just wanted to check on you. Are you okay?" The unexpected kindness made Naomi's throat tight. "I'm managing. It's been a difficult few weeks. If you need anything, please call me. I mean that. You were a good wife to my son and he threw it away. That's on him, not you." After hanging up, Naomi showered and dressed for work. Normalcy felt important right now. Maintaining her routine gave her a sense of control. At the office, Patricia was waiting with coffee and concern. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay. Just want to focus on work." "Good plan. Actually, I have something that might help. Remember Dr. Moore from Prescott Pharmaceuticals?" She called again. "They want to fly you out to their headquarters for a formal interview about a director-level position. I just got promoted to VP here." "I know. But hear her out. Sometimes multiple offers help clarify what you really want. Plus, the interview experience is valuable." Naomi agreed to the interview partly because Patricia was right, but mostly because staying busy kept her from thinking about Derek. Throughout the morning, her phone buzzed with texts from people she hadn't heard from in years. News of the divorce had apparently spread through their social circle rapidly. Most messages were supportive, but a few made her uncomfortable. "Wow, Derek really messed up. I always thought you two were perfect together. Are you dating yet? I know someone perfect for you." Naomi ignored most of them. She wasn't interested in discussing her failed marriage with acquaintances who'd barely stayed in touch over the years. But one message caught her attention. It was from Brenda, who'd been her maid of honor and closest friend before drifting apart when Derek claimed Brenda was too negative about their relationship. "Naomi, I just heard. I'm so sorry. Can we talk? I've missed you." They met for lunch that afternoon. Brenda hugged her tightly and immediately started crying. "I should have said something years ago," Brenda said. "I thought Derek was isolating you from your friends. But I didn't want to overstep." "You were right," Naomi admitted. "He did isolate me. Slowly. Until I didn't have anyone but him. Well, you have me now. Whatever you need." They talked for 2 hours, catching up on 7 years of lost friendship. Brenda had gotten married, had a son, and was running her own marketing company. She'd thought about reaching out to Naomi many times but worried she wasn't welcome anymore. "Derek made it clear he didn't like me," Brenda said. "He always had an excuse why you couldn't hang out. I figured eventually you'd chosen him over our friendship." "I never chose that," Naomi said. "He just made it so difficult to maintain friendships that it was easier to give up." That evening, Jackson called with an update. Derek's company completed their initial investigation. He's been terminated for misuse of company funds and violation of ethics policies. "They fired him?" "Immediately. They're also pursuing legal action to recover the money he spent. It's not looking good for him." Naomi felt a complicated mix of emotions. Part of her felt vindicated. But part of her felt sad that Derek had destroyed his own career along with their marriage. "How's Simone?" Naomi asked. "Also fired. Apparently, the affair was an open secret in the office, and several employees filed complaints that went ignored. The company is cleaning house." So both Derek and Simone had lost their jobs, their marriages, and their reputations in one spectacular implosion. Naomi tried to feel guilty about her role in that, but couldn't quite manage it. They'd made their choices. Over the next 2 weeks, Derek's attempts to contact Naomi escalated and then gradually faded. He tried everything, calling from different numbers, showing up at her house, sending flowers with apologetic notes, even trying to contact her through mutual friends. Naomi remained firm. All communication went through Judith. She didn't read his letters or listen to his voicemails. There was nothing he could say that would change her mind. The divorce proceedings moved quickly since Naomi had documented everything so thoroughly. Derek's attorney tried to argue for reconciliation counseling, but Judith shut that down immediately. "My client has no interest in reconciliation. Your client committed adultery, financial fraud, and emotional abuse. We're moving forward with the divorce." Derek tried claiming he deserved half the house, despite Naomi having made the down payment from her inheritance. He wanted alimony, despite having earned more than Naomi during their marriage. He wanted to keep the hidden accounts, claiming that money was his personal savings. Judith dismantled every argument with documented evidence. The house was Naomi's. The hidden accounts were marital property. And Derek wasn't entitled to alimony given his infidelity and fraud. "Your client should be grateful my client isn't pressing charges for theft of marital assets," Judith told Derek's attorney during a mediation session Naomi didn't attend. The hidden accounts alone constitute financial fraud within a marriage. Meanwhile, Simone's divorce from Jackson was proceeding similarly. Jackson had filed for full custody of their children based on Simone's pattern of deception and poor judgment. Simone's attorney tried to argue that an affair didn't make someone a bad parent, but Jackson's evidence of neglect and absence was damning. "She missed multiple school events because she was with Derek," Jackson told Naomi during one of their support calls. "She lied to our kids about where she was. She put her affair above her responsibilities as a mother." A month after the airport confrontation, Derek's financial situation had completely collapsed. Without his job, he couldn't afford his expensive lifestyle. His credit cards were maxed out from legal fees. His apartment was small and cheap. His car had been repossessed when he couldn't make payments. Naomi heard all of this through Margaret, who stayed in touch despite her son's protests. "He's asking his father and me for money," Margaret told Naomi. "We said no. He needs to face the consequences of his choices." "That must be hard for you," Naomi said. "It is. But enabling him won't help him learn. He destroyed a good marriage, threw away a successful career, and hurt multiple people because he was selfish and cowardly. He needs to rebuild his life from the bottom up." Simone's situation was similar. Without her job or Jackson's income, she'd moved back in with her parents. Her children stayed with Jackson most of the time, visiting her on supervised weekends. Her social media, once filled with polished photos and career updates, had gone dark. Derek and Simone's relationship had imploded almost immediately. Whatever fantasy they'd been living collapsed under the weight of reality. With no money, no jobs, and no future together, they'd quickly turned on each other. Naomi heard through mutual contacts that Simone blamed Derek for pushing the affair. Derek blamed Simone for not being worth losing everything. They'd gone from partners in deception to bitter enemies in a matter of weeks. They deserve each other, Jackson said when Naomi mentioned this. Actually, they deserve what they're getting, Naomi corrected. Each other was just a fantasy. This is reality. 2 months after filing for divorce, Naomi's settlement was finalized. She got the house, half of all assets including the hidden accounts, and a portion of Derek's future earnings for 3 years to compensate for her sacrificed career years. The total amount was more than enough to secure her financial future. Derek got nothing but debt and regret. Simone's divorce was equally brutal. Jackson got full custody, the house and most of their savings. Simone got supervised visitation and child support obligations she could barely afford. On the day her divorce was officially finalized, Naomi stood in Judith's office holding the decree. "Congratulations," Judith said. "You're officially divorced and set up for success. You did everything right. I couldn't have done it without you. You did most of the work yourself. The documentation, the planning, the strength to follow through. I just handled the legal paperwork." Naomi left the attorney's office and drove to her house now, not Derek's. She walked through rooms that felt different without his presence. Lighter. More peaceful. She'd redecorated in the past month, removing all traces of their marriage. The wedding photos were gone. His belongings had been packed up and given to his parents. Even the furniture had been replaced with pieces Naomi chose herself. This was her space now. Her sanctuary. Her foundation for building something new. She poured a glass of wine and sat on her new couch, looking out at the backyard where she'd planned to raise children with Derek. That future was gone, but somehow she didn't mourn it anymore. Because in destroying her old life, Derek had inadvertently freed her to build a better one. Derek's fall from grace accelerated in the weeks following the divorce finalization. Naomi heard updates through various channels, each one painting a picture of someone whose life had completely unraveled. His company's legal department filed a lawsuit against him for the $55,000 in misused company funds. Without a job or income, Derek couldn't afford a proper defense attorney. The court ruled against him, ordering repayment with interest plus additional penalties. But Derek had no money to pay. His credit was destroyed. His bank accounts were nearly empty after legal fees and basic living expenses. The court ordered wage garnishment on any future earnings, meaning a significant portion of whatever Derek eventually earned would go directly to his former employer. Margaret called Naomi one evening with an update. "Derek's father and I sat him down yesterday. Told him he needs to get his life together. We offered to help him find a job, but he has to actually try." "How did he respond?" "He's still in denial about everything. Keeps saying you overreacted. That Simone led him on. That his company treated him unfairly. He can't seem to accept that he did this to himself." "Some people never do accept responsibility," Naomi said. "I'm disappointed in him. His father is too. We raised him better than this." Derek eventually found work as a financial analyst at a much smaller firm, making half his previous salary. Even that was difficult to secure given his termination from his previous job. The wage garnishment meant he took home barely enough to cover rent and food. His apartment was in a neighborhood far removed from his former lifestyle. No luxury amenities, no proximity to restaurants and entertainment. Just basic housing in an area he'd once looked down on. Naomi knew all this not because she was checking on him, but because people kept telling her. Friends who'd run into Derek reported back with updates. Margaret called regularly. Even strangers at networking events would mention knowing that guy who got fired for embezzling and having an affair. Derek's reputation in the financial industry was destroyed. Companies that might have hired him passed once they learned his history. Professional contacts stopped returning his calls. He'd gone from rising star to cautionary tale in a matter of months. Simone's situation was similarly bleak. Without her job or marriage, she'd lost her identity. She tried finding work in marketing, but her termination from Derek's company had blacklisted her in the industry. Employers who interviewed her would inevitably ask about the gap in her resume, and the truth was damaging. She eventually took a job in retail management, a significant step down from her previous corporate position. The pay was barely enough to cover child support and basic expenses. Her children, when they visited on supervised weekends, were confused about why mommy lived with grandma and daddy lived somewhere else. Jackson reported that his kids were adjusting to the new normal. They were angry at Simone but thriving with the stability Jackson provided. He'd been granted full custody after Simone missed multiple court-ordered parenting classes. The judge wasn't impressed. Jackson told Naomi during one of their periodic check-in calls. Simone kept making excuses about why she couldn't attend. Eventually, the judge ruled that she demonstrated a pattern of putting herself ahead of her children's needs. Meanwhile, Derek and Simone's brief relationship had ended in spectacular fashion. Naomi heard through the grapevine that they'd had a public argument at a restaurant where Simone accused Derek of ruining her life and Derek accused Simone of being the reason he'd lost everything. They were screaming at each other, Brenda reported after witnessing the argument. It was embarrassing. Security had to escort them out. Neither Derek nor Simone had moved on to new relationships. Derek had tried dating, but women would Google his name and discover the affair and embezzlement. Simone was too focused on basic survival and supervised visits with her children to think about romance. 6 months after the divorce, Naomi ran into Derek at a grocery store. She was shopping after work, still in her professional clothes from the office. Derek was there in sweatpants and a wrinkled shirt, his cart containing ramen noodles and generic brands. He saw her first and froze in the aisle. Naomi almost didn't recognize him. He'd lost weight but not in a healthy way. He looked worn down and tired, his former confidence completely gone. "Naomi," he said quietly. "Derek." They stood in awkward silence. Other shoppers moved around them, oblivious to the history between these two strangers in the cereal aisle. "How have you been?" Derek asked eventually. "Good. Busy with work. I heard you got promoted. Vice president, right?" "Yes." More silence. Derek's eyes kept darting to Naomi's cart, which contained organic produce, quality meats, and other items that clearly indicated financial comfort. "I'm sorry," Derek said finally. "For everything. I know that doesn't mean much now, but I need you to know I regret what I did." Naomi considered his words. The old her would have accepted the apology, tried to make him feel better, smooth things over. But that Naomi was gone. "I appreciate you saying that. But an apology doesn't change what happened. I know. I lost everything. My job, my marriage, my reputation. I'm barely getting by. And it's all my fault." "Yes, it is." Derek flinched at the blunt response. "You could have been more forgiving." And there it was. The hint of blame shifting. The suggestion that Naomi had somehow been too harsh. "No, Derek. I couldn't have. You didn't make one mistake. You made hundreds of deliberate choices over 2 years to lie to me, cheat on me, and steal from me. You don't get forgiveness for that. You get consequences. I've learned my lesson. I've paid for what I did." "Good. I hope you have learned. But that doesn't mean I forgive you or want you in my life." She moved past him, continuing her shopping. Derek stood alone in the aisle, holding his cart of discount ramen, looking lost. Naomi didn't look back. That evening, Patricia called to discuss an opportunity. Dr. Moore from Prescott Pharmaceuticals made a formal offer. They want you as their chief research officer. It's a significant promotion with a substantial salary increase. "I'm happy here," Naomi said. "I know. But listen to the offer before deciding. It's impressive." The offer was indeed impressive. Double her current salary, a comprehensive benefits package, research budget with significant autonomy, and a corner office at their headquarters. It was the kind of position most researchers spent decades working toward. "Take a week to think about it," Patricia said. "I'd hate to lose you, but I won't stand in your way if this is what you want." Naomi spent the next few days considering the offer. The money was appealing, but she was happy in her current role. Patricia had been supportive during the divorce. Her team respected her. The work was fulfilling. But the Prescott position represented something bigger. A chance to work on cutting-edge research that could impact millions of people. A chance to lead at the highest levels of pharmaceutical development. She called Brenda to discuss it. "What does your gut tell you?" Brenda asked. "That I've earned this. That I deserve big opportunities." "Then take it. You spent 7 years putting Derek's career first. Now it's time to put yourself first." Naomi called Dr. Moore the next day. "I accept your offer." "Excellent. We're thrilled to have you. When can you start?" "I need to give proper notice to my current employer. Is 2 months acceptable?" "Perfect. We'll have everything ready for you." Telling Patricia was difficult. They'd built a strong professional relationship, and Patricia had been crucial to Naomi's recovery. "I understand completely," Patricia said when Naomi broke the news. "This is an incredible opportunity. I'm proud of you for taking it. You gave me a chance when I needed it most. And you exceeded every expectation. Go make an impact at Prescott. You've earned it." As word spread about Naomi's new position, the congratulations poured in. Professional contacts reached out to express admiration. Colleagues from her past career reconnected. Even some of Derek's former co-workers sent messages praising her success. Margaret called to congratulate her too. Derek heard about your new job. He's not taking it well. I'm sorry that affects him, but this isn't about Derek. I know. And I'm proud of you. You rebuilt your life while Derek is still making excuses for his. The contrast between Naomi's rising trajectory and Derek's continued decline was stark. She was ascending to executive leadership in a major company. He was struggling to make rent on a tiny apartment. She'd built a support network of friends and colleagues. He'd alienated nearly everyone who'd once cared about him. She was thriving. He was surviving. And while Naomi felt no pleasure in Derek's suffering, she also felt no guilt about her success. She'd earned every opportunity through hard work and determination. Derek's failures were consequences of his own choices. On her last day at Patricia's company, the team threw her a farewell party. People shared stories about projects they'd worked on together and expressed sadness about her departure. You transformed this division, one colleague said. We'll miss your leadership. Patricia gave a speech about Naomi's contributions and wished her success in the new role. You came here during one of the hardest periods of your life, Patricia told the assembled team. And you didn't just survive, you excelled. That shows character and strength. Prescott is lucky to have you. Driving home that evening, Naomi reflected on the past 6 months. She'd gone from discovering her husband's affair to building a successful career and landing an executive position. She'd survived the worst betrayal of her life and emerged stronger. Derek had gone from successful financial advisor to unemployed, divorced, and in debt. He'd lost everything because he'd valued his affair more than his marriage, his integrity, or his future. The contrast wasn't about revenge. Naomi hadn't set out to destroy Derek's life. She'd simply refused to be destroyed by his lies. And in refusing to be a victim, she'd become the architect of her own success. 6 months post-divorce, Naomi's life had transformed completely. She stood in her new corner office at Prescott Pharmaceuticals, looking out over the city skyline, still adjusting to the reality of her new role. Chief Research Officer. The title felt both earned and surreal. 2 years ago, she'd been a housewife who'd given up her career. Now she led research initiatives affecting millions of patients worldwide. Her first major decision had been restructuring the research division to focus on underserved medical needs. Projects that had languished under previous leadership were revived. New partnerships with academic institutions brought fresh perspectives. The division hummed with renewed energy. Dr. Collins, the board is ready for your presentation, her assistant announced. Naomi gathered her materials and walked into the boardroom with confidence. She presented her strategic plan for the next 3 years, outlining research priorities, budget allocations, and projected outcomes. The board asked probing questions, and Naomi answered each one with detailed knowledge and clear vision. After the meeting, the CEO pulled her aside. That was impressive. The board is very pleased with the direction you're taking us. Keep it up. Professionally, everything was clicking into place. But Naomi had also focused on rebuilding other parts of her life that Derek had diminished. She'd reconnected with Brenda, who'd become a regular fixture in her life again. They met for dinner weekly, sharing updates and supporting each other through life's challenges. Brenda had introduced Naomi to her circle of friends, expanding Naomi's social network beyond what it had been during her marriage. You seem lighter, Brenda observed during one dinner. Like you're finally relaxed. I am. For the first time in years, I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not worrying about someone else's mood or schedule. I'm just living. Naomi had also started volunteering at a women's shelter on weekends. She'd found the organization while researching support resources during her divorce, and their mission resonated with her. Every Saturday morning, she led a workshop on financial literacy for women leaving abusive or difficult situations. Many women stay in bad marriages because they don't think they can survive financially, the shelter director had explained when recruiting Naomi. Your story could help them see another path. During her workshops, Naomi taught basic budgeting, how to open independent bank accounts, understanding credit scores, and planning for financial independence. She shared her own story of discovering Derek's hidden accounts and rebuilding her finances from that betrayal. I was married to a financial professional who stole from me, Naomi told one group of women. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. But you can recover. You can rebuild. I'm proof of that. The women asked questions about everything from opening secret bank accounts to hiding evidence to navigating divorce proceedings. Naomi answered honestly, sharing both her successes and her moments of doubt. One woman approached her after a session with tears in her eyes. "Thank you. My husband controls all our money. I've been afraid to leave because I don't know how I'd survive. But hearing you talk about your planning, maybe I can do that too." "You can," Naomi assured her. "And we'll help you figure out how." The volunteer work was fulfilling in ways Naomi hadn't expected. Each woman she helped felt like a small victory against the fear and control that had defined her own marriage. She'd also started therapy. At first, Naomi had been skeptical about needing it. She'd handled the divorce practically and successfully. Why did she need to process feelings she'd already moved past? But her therapist, Dr. Williams, helped her understand that practical success didn't mean emotional healing was complete. "You've done all the external work," Dr. Williams explained during one session. "You've rebuilt your career, established financial independence, created a support system. But have you processed the betrayal itself? The grief? The loss of trust?" Over several months of weekly sessions, Naomi worked through layers of emotion she'd suppressed during the crisis. The anger she'd channeled into planning. The hurt she'd ignored while gathering evidence. The grief for the marriage she'd thought she had. "I feel stupid sometimes," Naomi admitted. "How did I not see what was happening for 2 years?" "You trusted your partner. That's not stupid. That's what you're supposed to do in a healthy marriage. Derek violated that trust. His deception is not a reflection of your intelligence or awareness." The therapy sessions helped Naomi understand that she wasn't to blame for Derek's choices. She'd been a good wife, a supportive partner. His decision to betray her said everything about him and nothing about her worth. 8 months post-divorce, Naomi sold the house she'd shared with Derek. Too many memories haunted those rooms. She bought a modern condo downtown, closer to her office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and an open floor plan that felt nothing like her old home. She decorated it herself, choosing pieces that reflected her taste rather than compromising with someone else's preferences. The space was entirely hers, bright, minimalist, peaceful. Margaret helped her move, insisting on being involved despite Derek's protests. "This is beautiful," Margaret said, looking around the new condo. "It suits you. Thank you for being here. I know it's complicated with Derek. You were my daughter-in-law for 7 years. That meant something to me. His mistakes don't erase that relationship." Margaret had maintained contact throughout the divorce, much to Derek's frustration. She'd attend Naomi's professional events, sent congratulatory cards for her promotions, and called regularly to check in. "Derek thinks I'm being disloyal," Margaret confessed. "But I can love my son and still hold him accountable. What he did was wrong. You deserved better." Naomi hugged her. "Thank you. Your support has meant everything." At work, Naomi's division secured approval for 3 major research initiatives she championed. One focused on affordable treatments for rare diseases. Another explored innovative approaches to chronic pain management. The third investigated preventive therapies for age-related cognitive decline. "These projects align with our mission to make meaningful impacts in healthcare," Naomi told her team. "Not just profitable treatments but solutions that genuinely help people." Her leadership style was collaborative but decisive. She trusted her team's expertise while providing clear direction. She advocated for resources while managing budgets responsibly. And she mentored junior researchers, remembering how important Patricia's mentorship had been to her own recovery. One young researcher, a woman named Tasha, approached Naomi after a team meeting. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. I heard you got divorced recently. That you rebuilt your career after being out of the field for years. How did you do it?" "I'm going through something similar and feel completely lost." Naomi shared her story honestly, including the pain and uncertainty. But she also emphasized the importance of taking action despite fear. "You can't control what others do to you," Naomi explained. "But you can control how you respond. I chose to respond by building something better rather than falling apart. You can too." Tasha thanked her with tears in her eyes. "I needed to hear that. Everyone tells me to stay for the kids or give him another chance. But I know what I know. He's not going to change. Then trust your instincts. And start planning your exit carefully." Helping Tasha reminded Naomi of how far she'd come. A year ago, she'd been the one receiving advice and support. Now she was in a position to offer both. Socially, Naomi's life had expanded beyond what it had been during her marriage. Brenda introduced her to a book club. Patricia included her in professional networking groups. The women's shelter connected her with other volunteers who became friends. She dated occasionally, though without any serious interest. A few colleagues asked her out. Some men she met through friends showed interest. But Naomi wasn't ready for a relationship. She was still enjoying being independent, making decisions solely for herself. "I spent 7 years putting someone else's needs first," she told Brenda when declining to be set up on a blind date. "I'm not ready to do that again." "That's healthy," Brenda agreed. "There's no timeline for moving on." 1 year after discovering Derek's affair, Naomi attended a pharmaceutical industry conference where she was scheduled to give the keynote speech. Her topic: Innovation through Adversity, Building Research Programs That Matter. Preparing for the speech, Naomi reflected on the past year. The discovery in the hotel hallway. The investigation and planning. The divorce and rebuilding. Every step had led to this moment. She thought about Derek struggling in his diminished life. About Simone, living with her parents and fighting for limited time with her children. About Jackson building a stable home for his kids. About the women at the shelter planning their own escapes. Everyone's story was different, but they all shared common themes. Betrayal, choice, consequence, and the possibility of rebuilding. The night before her keynote, Naomi got an unexpected call from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Naomi? This is Simone." Naomi's first instinct was to hang up. But curiosity kept her on the line. "What do you want?" I wanted to apologize. For what I did. For the affair. For helping destroy your marriage. It's a year too late for apologies. I know. But I needed you to know I'm sorry. I was selfish and cruel, and I've spent this year paying for it. You did more than that. You helped Derek steal from me. You celebrated destroying my life." Simone started crying. "I know. I was terrible. I thought I was in love, but really I was just selfish. And now I've lost everything that actually mattered. My kids barely speak to me. My career is gone. My reputation is destroyed. And you want what from me? Sympathy? No. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. And that's seeing what you've built, what you've accomplished. I'm ashamed of trying to hurt someone like you." Naomi was quiet for a moment. Part of her wanted to revel in Simone's misery. But mostly she just felt tired of the whole thing. "I appreciate you calling. But I don't forgive you. And I don't want to hear from you again." "I understand. Goodbye, Naomi." After hanging up, Naomi sat in her hotel room thinking about forgiveness. She'd forgiven Derek's mother for staying in her life despite family pressure. She'd forgiven herself for not seeing the affair sooner. But she didn't forgive Derek or Simone for their choices. And that was okay. Forgiveness wasn't required for healing. Moving forward didn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. She'd healed by building a life so fulfilling that Derek and Simone's betrayal became just one chapter in a much larger story. The next morning, Naomi stood on stage in front of 500 pharmaceutical industry leaders and delivered her keynote speech. She talked about overcoming adversity, finding strength in difficulty, and building meaningful programs from the ground up. She didn't mention her divorce. But everything she said was informed by that experience. The resilience she developed. The determination to build something meaningful. The understanding that crisis could be a catalyst for growth. The audience gave her a standing ovation. Several executives approached afterward to offer congratulations and explore potential collaborations. Flying home that evening, Naomi looked out at clouds lit by sunset and felt genuinely happy. Not just content or coping, but truly happy. She'd survived betrayal and emerged stronger. She'd rebuilt her career and exceeded her own expectations. She'd helped others while healing herself. She'd created a life she was proud of. Derek had tried to diminish her, control her, and keep her dependent. Instead, he'd freed her to become more than she'd ever been in their marriage. And that, Naomi realized, was the sweetest revenge of all. 15 months after discovering Derek's affair, Naomi stood in a Prescott Pharmaceuticals conference room negotiating a partnership with one of the largest healthcare systems in the country. The deal would expand their research capabilities and bring cutting-edge treatments to underserved communities. "Dr. Collins, your vision for this partnership aligns perfectly with our mission," the healthcare CEO said. "We're excited to move forward." After the meeting, Naomi's assistant delivered a message. "Dr. Moore wants to see you in her office." Dr. Moore, who'd recruited Naomi and was now her close colleague, gestured for Naomi to sit. "I'm retiring next year," Dr. Moore announced without preamble. "What? You can't be serious." "I'm 68. It's time. But more importantly, I'm recommending you as my successor." Naomi felt her heart skip. Successor for what? Chief Scientific Officer. You'd oversee all research, development, and innovation across the entire company. It's the position I've held for 12 years. I've only been here 18 months. And in that time, you've revolutionized our research division, secured major partnerships, and demonstrated leadership that exceeds your years of experience. The board agrees with my recommendation. I don't know what to say. Say you'll consider it. You have time to think about it. But Naomi, you're ready for this. You've earned it. That evening, Naomi called Brenda to process the news. Chief Scientific Officer? That's incredible. It's also terrifying. That's one of the highest positions in pharmaceutical leadership. People work decades to reach that level. And you've proven you deserve it. Stop doubting yourself. The next day, Naomi visited the women's shelter for her regular Saturday workshop. She'd been volunteering for over a year now, and many of the women had made significant progress toward independence. One woman, Rita, approached Naomi after the session. I wanted you to know I left him. Last week. I followed your plan, documented everything, and filed for divorce. How are you doing? Scared. But also relieved. I got a job, opened my own bank account, and moved into a small apartment. It's not much, but it's mine. That's everything, Naomi said, hugging her. You did the hard part. Another woman, Jennifer, shared that she'd been offered a management position at work. I never would have applied if you hadn't encouraged me. I thought I wasn't qualified. But I got the job. These moments of watching other women reclaim their power and independence filled Naomi with purpose. Her own experience wasn't just about her anymore. It was about showing others what was possible. That afternoon, Naomi's phone rang with Margaret's number. Naomi, I wanted to tell you before you heard it elsewhere. Derek is getting married. Naomi felt a flicker of surprise but no pain. Really? To whom? Some woman he met at his new job. It's very fast, they've only been dating a few months. I think he's trying to prove he's moved on. I hope it works out for him. You mean that? I do. I'm not angry at Derek anymore. I'm just indifferent. His life doesn't affect mine anymore. You're remarkably gracious about this. I'm just happy. And his happiness or lack thereof doesn't change mine. That evening, alone in her condo, Naomi reflected on Margaret's news. Derek was getting married again, probably repeating the same patterns with someone new. Simone was still struggling to rebuild her relationship with her children. Jackson had started dating someone who treated his kids with kindness and respect. Everyone was moving forward in their own way. A month later, Naomi accepted the position as Chief Scientific Officer. The announcement made industry headlines. She was the youngest person to hold the position at Prescott and one of few women in such a senior scientific leadership role in the pharmaceutical industry. Her first major initiative as CSO was launching a program to make essential medications more affordable in developing countries. She also established a mentorship program pairing senior researchers with women and minorities entering the field. You're not just leading research, Patricia told her during a congratulatory lunch. You're changing the culture. Someone did that for me when I needed it most, Naomi said. Now I'm paying it forward. 6 months into her new role, Naomi attended an industry gala where she was receiving a leadership award. She wore an emerald green gown, her hair styled elegantly, feeling confident and powerful. During the cocktail hour, someone tapped her shoulder. She turned to find Derek standing there, looking uncomfortable in an ill-fitting suit. His new wife stood beside him, a nervous-looking woman who seemed out of place at the formal event. Naomi, Derek said awkwardly. Congratulations on your award. Thank you. Derek, it's good to see you. This is my wife, Amanda. Naomi shook Amanda's hand graciously. It's nice to meet you. They made small talk for a few minutes. Derek worked in a mid-level position at a small investment firm. Amanda was a teacher. They'd bought a modest house in the suburbs. Derek kept glancing at Naomi's designer gown, the diamond earrings she'd bought herself, the confident way she navigated the room greeting industry leaders. She saw the regret in his eyes, the realization of what he'd lost. I heard about your promotion, Derek said. Chief Scientific Officer. That's impressive. Thank you. I've been fortunate. No, you earned it. You always were brilliant. I never appreciated that. Naomi smiled kindly. I hope you're happy, Derek. Both of you. Truly. She excused herself gracefully and moved on to other conversations. She didn't think about Derek for the rest of the evening. When Naomi accepted her award later that night, she gave a speech about resilience and transformation. 2 years ago, I was at the lowest point of my life, she told the audience. My marriage had ended, my career was non-existent, and I felt like I'd lost everything. But I learned something crucial: we're not defined by what happens to us, but by how we respond. The audience listened intently as she continued. I could have stayed bitter. I could have let betrayal destroy me. Instead, I chose to rebuild, to refocus on work that matters, to help others who were struggling like I had struggled. And in doing that, I found something better than what I'd lost. Today, I lead research initiatives affecting millions of patients worldwide. I mentor women entering our field. I support programs that make healthcare more accessible. None of that would have happened if I'd stayed stuck in the past. So to anyone facing difficult transitions or unexpected setbacks, your story isn't over. This is just a chapter. And you get to write what comes next. The room erupted in applause. Several people approached afterward to share their own stories of professional or personal setbacks they'd overcome. Dr. Moore hugged Naomi. That was beautiful. And so true. Months continued to pass, each one bringing new opportunities and growth. Naomi's division secured breakthrough approvals for 2 medications she'd championed. The affordability program she'd established expanded to 15 countries. Her mentorship program grew to include 50 young researchers. On the 2-year anniversary of discovering Derek's affair, Naomi took the day off work. Not to mourn or remember pain, but to celebrate how far she'd come. She spent the morning at the women's shelter, surprising them with a significant donation and news that she'd established a scholarship fund for women pursuing education while leaving difficult situations. This is incredible, the shelter director said. This will change so many lives. Someone gave me a chance when I needed it most, Naomi said. Now I'm doing the same. That afternoon, she met Brenda for lunch at the restaurant where they'd reconnected 2 years ago. Remember when we met here? Brenda said. You were so lost. I was terrified. I had no idea how I'd rebuild my life. And now look at you. Chief Scientific Officer. Industry leader. Philanthropist. Mentor. I'm just someone who refused to let one bad thing define my entire story. They toasted to friendship, resilience, and the future. That evening, Naomi stood on her condo balcony watching the city lights. She thought about the woman who'd stood in that hotel hallway hearing her husband betray her. That woman had been scared and hurt but also stronger than she'd known. She transformed pain into purpose. Betrayal into opportunity. Loss into growth. Derek had tried to diminish her, but he'd actually freed her to become more than she'd ever been. His betrayal had been the catalyst for her to rediscover her own worth and capabilities. 2 years ago, Naomi had thought her life was ending. Now she understood it had actually been beginning. She pulled out her phone and deleted Derek's old contact information, which she'd kept without even realizing it. She removed the photos of their wedding that still lived in archived folders. She let go of the last remnants of that failed marriage. Not with anger or pain but with gratitude. Because Derek's betrayal had given her something unexpected. The chance to build a life completely on her own terms. A life where she answered to no one, compromised with no one, and built something meaningful purely from her own vision and values. She'd learned that the best revenge wasn't hurting the person who hurt you. It was building a life so fulfilling that their absence became irrelevant. It was succeeding so thoroughly that their betrayal became just a minor chapter in a much larger story. Naomi had done that. She'd taken the worst day of her life and used it as a foundation for building the best life she could imagine. And as she looked out over the city, feeling peaceful and powerful and genuinely happy, she realized something profound. She'd won. Not because Derek lost, but because she'd refused to lose herself in the process of losing him. She'd emerged from betrayal not as a victim but as a victor. Not broken but strengthened. Not diminished but expanded. The journey from that hotel hallway to this balcony had been difficult, painful, and sometimes overwhelming. But it had also been transformative in ways she couldn't have imagined. Naomi smiled, raised her glass to the city lights and toasted to herself. To resilience. To growth. To becoming. And to the sweet taste of success earned through strength, determination, and an unwavering belief that she deserved better. The story that had started with shocking betrayal had ended with triumphant transformation. And Naomi Collins, Ph.D., Chief Scientific Officer, mentor, philanthropist, and survivor, was just getting started.